Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Lunch and Learn. Clarity presents the HSA Today, how people are actually using HSAs and how they should be. It is straight up 12 o'clock on the East Coast. And as we give everyone just a minute or two to log in, we are going to let everybody get situated and get a little more familiar with the platform here, this On24 platform. You should be able to see the presentation as well as the presenters. We're going to introduce ourselves in just a couple of minutes, and we will then, in about probably 1 minute, we're going to go through all the housekeeping rules. But most of all, we just want to make HSAs exciting for you, as exciting as they can be, because we know that you have to be here for this, and we don't want to waste any of your time. So thank you so much for being here. And with that, I think we're Justine, are we ready?
I'm ready when you are.
Okay, well, let's get going then. I'll introduce myself. My name is Becky Crutchfield. I am the Director of Partner Growth and Business Development here at Clarity Benefit Solutions, and I am excited to present this information today. I'm here with joined by my colleague Justine Sobczyk. I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Great, thanks, Becky. I'm Justine Sobczyk. I am the Associate Vice President of National Sales based out of Denver, Colorado, here with Clarity. And like Becky said, we're very excited to present our HSA CE course for you today. Thanks.
Great. So a couple of things that, just so you know, these are the things that we're going to go through. Importance of HSAs, what people know about HSAs, how people are using HSAs, why it matters, and then we'll have a couple of minutes for questions and answers. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. Also, a couple of things that you should know, if you have questions like technical questions, for instance, if you aren't able to see one of the presenters, or if you aren't able to hear, or perhaps you can't find the poll questions, then just make sure to put it in the chat. We've got a whole team of people in the background that's ready to answer your questions. Couple of things about this presentation specifically. Be sure that you do not answer the poll questions in the chat. There is going to be a widget on your screen. It's going to be right there. If you can't see it, send us a quick note in the QA. But if you need to answer the questions there. And in fact, because it is for CE, for continuing ed credit, we do ask that you remain on the presentation the whole time and answer as many of the poll questions as you're able to. They're going to be easy, so I know you guys will be able to answer them. Let's see. Also, all of this information is going to be sent to you after the show. I shouldn't call it a show, but after the presentation, you're going to receive the actual white paper that we used to create this presentation, as well as a copy of all the slides. So if you want to share it, you can. And of course, you're going to receive your CE credits within about 3 to 5 business days after the webinar. We're going to send those directly to you, so you just keep an eye out for them. And with that, I think we are ready. Oh, one quick mention. Yeah, this is great. One quick mention, Virginia residents, just so you know, there is a disclaimer that you have to read. I think that your state requires it. So just make sure that you open up that sheet and take a look at it, and then everybody's covered. So, all right, let's dive in. We're already 4 minutes after. So first, what we're going to do here is we're going to look at how people are actually using HSAs today in the key areas of spending, saving, and investing. And we'll suggest how they could and should be using them effectively going forward. Plus, we'll touch on why more effective HSA usage is good for everyone involved, including employees, employers, and brokers. So as these statistics show here, this is an interesting slide. HSAs are becoming more and more popular. More than half of employers now offer a high deductible health plan, and this is the type of plan that is required to offer an HSA. There are now more than 32 million HSAs out there, and which is an 8% year-over-year increase. And it's projected that there will be 38 million HSAs by 2024. So they're growing very fast. Not only are there more HSAs now, they're also holding more money. Assets held in HSAs have reached nearly $100 billion, and the trend there is upward as well. So that's a 6% increase over the previous year. In the future, many more people may be eligible for HSAs, not just those with qualified high deductible health plans. In 2022, Congress proposed 3 pieces of legislation related to HSAs. One that would expand access for seniors, one that would expand access for children, and one that would expand access for everyone with any type of health insurance, not just qualified high deductible health plans. Now, none of these bills actually became law in 2022, and we don't know yet if they'll be taken up in the 2023 Congress. But this does show that there are government advocates for making HSAs even more accessible to even more people in the future. Now, we're going to start with our first poll question, and I'm going to send this one over to Justine to kick it off for us.
Thanks, Becky. So our very first poll question of the day, and just a reminder, there will be a widget for you to answer the poll. So we're just going to walk through the question and the options you have right now. First off, what percentage of your clients are currently offering a high deductible health plan with an HSA? Your options are A, 76 to 100%, B, 51 to 75%, C, 26 to 50%, and D, 0 to 25%. The next slide is where you'll have the opportunity to answer that poll question. So I'll give you guys a couple of seconds to get the response in. And I'm just gonna refresh really quick to see where we are. So pretty good. It looks like we're the majority are in that 26 to 50%, which coincides with what we saw in the previous statistics. Just about half of employers are offering a HSA with high deductible health plan. Do one more refresh. Yep, pretty consistent. Great, thank you.
I love it. Great. So you guys must already know a little bit about HSAs, but employers are going to be dealing with repercussions of what's being termed the Great Resignation. Now, the Great Resignation describes the elevated rate at which U.S. workers resigned from their jobs starting in spring of 2021, and strong labor demand and low unemployment, even as vaccinations eased the severity of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, in 2021, nearly 4 million Americans quit their jobs every month, the highest average on record, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now, these statistics show that employee turnover is a serious ongoing challenge, and for employers, attracting and retaining talent is more vital and challenging than ever. That's why we're talking about this.
Yes,
Justine, talk about the Great Resignation. What are you seeing out there actually in the field?
So we're starting to see a bit of a turn up of this, a turnaround from where we were in 2021, which is great, but there still is a lot of people who are not in the workforce today. And so employers are also struggling to retain and recruit talent. So they're looking for unique ways on how to do that, certain retention and recruitment tools. And as we go through this, we'll see how an HSA can be utilized as one of those.
Great. So as as a result, just as Justine was saying, as a result of the Great Resignation, talent acquisition and retention are really top priorities for employers. This is according to HR Trends report. One key strategy to attract and retain talent is to offer more attractive benefit packages. Because as these numbers show, benefits are important to employees. Benefits are the number 2 reason people look for new jobs. And 90% of employees would take better healthcare benefits over a pay raise, which really strikes me. But Justine, how about, is this what you're seeing as well? I mean, do you think, how important are benefits to employees these days?
Very, very important. And I know we're going to elaborate on how HSAs fit into this equation in the next couple of slides, but what we're seeing now is, in today's climate, because we had such a massive Great Resignation experience, people were finally aware of how expensive benefits actually are when they became responsible for them. So the benefit package for a recruitment tool is, we're going to see some statistics on that, how that is one of the leading deciding factors when an employee is looking at a company and evaluating their options. Since we are now all aware, or pretty well aware, of how expensive benefits are, if you have to pay for them on your own, it is looking for that more attractive benefit package is definitely a deciding factor for sure.
Thanks, Justine. And HSAs are really shaping up to be a very important benefit for employers to offer. In an article titled "Convergence Between Retirement and Benefits is Just Beginning," Benefits Pro pointed out that employers, employees, and benefit providers are all taking a more holistic approach to managing benefits. This includes an enhanced attention to adding more mental health components to healthcare benefits. We certainly learned that during COVID. Tying into a broader view of overall well-being that goes beyond traditional medical and surgical care. It also includes looking beyond healthcare benefits, particularly to financial planning and retirement benefits, to have a more complete, better understanding of all of one's benefits, how they relate to each other, and how they can most effectively be used together. You like this slide, Justine?
I love this slide. Yes. So this is an example of how employers can leverage an HSA to enhance their benefit package today, and how HSAs can help bridge that gap between the health and the wealth. So it combines the two. So you're not just looking at your financial health, but your future medical health. A lot of people don't really realize that once you hit age 65 and you're in Medicare retirement age, you're going to spend over $300,000 on your health care. So having this as another tool in your financial health and wellness bucket helps you build and save for those future medical expenses that are inevitable.
So we're going really basic now. What exactly is an HSA? HSAs are growing in popularity, and we really expect that this trend is going to continue. But let's take a step back. In the world of employee benefits, HSAs are really still relatively new, and their features may be unfamiliar to many, especially those not in the field like we all are. So what exactly is an HSA? Well, according to healthcare.gov, a health savings account is a type of savings account that lets you set aside money on a pre-tax basis to pay for qualified medical expenses. It must be used in conjunction with the high deductible health plan with HSA eligibility. And account holders can use their HSAs to pay for out-of-pocket expenses such as copays, coinsurance, deductibles, doctor visits, hospital charges, prescription drugs, dental and orthodontic services, and vision care, glasses, and contacts. Now, basically, it's a way that employers try to help offset some of the pain of the higher deductibles that are part and parcel of high deductible health plans by providing tax-free savings on employees' out-of-pocket spending. So that's HSAs in a nutshell. And that's the big picture theory of HSAs. But theory and practice, of course, two different things. So that brings us to part 2. What do people actually know about their HSAs? And for that, we're kicking it back to Justine for a poll question.
So your second poll question of the day, how confident are you in your knowledge of HSAs? And of course, your first option, highly, supremely, awesomely confident in your HSA knowledge. B, hopefully somewhat a little bit confident. And then C, hardly sure about anything confident. And sometimes we're in C at any given point of the day. But today we're specifically asking about your HSA knowledge. So this will give you the opportunity to go through the widget and answer your poll question. I'll give that a couple of seconds to let you.
I love that. I love that there's no gray. Like, it's like either really, really know it, but you're right. It sort of changes throughout the day. As we talk back and forth in our teams, about a question about HSAs, everyone sort of chimes in, and it's really fun to watch.
Yes, and that's where you lean on industry experts like us, like each other, to help with those questions. So it looks like about 60% are hopefully somewhat a little bit confident, and 31%, 30 of you are highly, supremely, awesomely confident. I love it, and great job.
I love that too. Okay, another poll question right off the bat.
Straight into our third poll question of the day. So we asked how confident you are in your knowledge, and now we're going to ask how confident you believe your client's knowledge of HSAs to be. Again, same options: highly, supremely, awesomely confident, hopefully somewhat a little bit, and then hardly sure about anything comment. So this is based upon what you believe your client's knowledge of HSAs are today. Give you a couple of seconds to respond. Let's see where we are. So getting, it's about the same. Yeah, it looks like we'll do a little refresh. Give a couple of you a little bit more opportunity to respond. All right. So again, 60% are hopefully somewhat a little bit confident. And this is a testament to you, the benefit brokers, because you're the ones who are educating your employers and clients on this information. And then, of course, there's always an opportunity to help educate them further. And that's where and industry experts such as ourselves can help.
Great. Thanks, Justine. So when it comes to the general population of HSA users, this is what we see. They're not at all confident. More than 90% want to learn more. Nearly a quarter admit they know little or nothing. But most troubling, 1 out of 3 of them have not even opened the HSA that they are eligible for. Now, with that in mind, we're going to take a pop quiz, focusing on some of the areas that cause people the most confusion about HSAs. So, Justine, give them this little pop quiz, and you guys could actually answer this one in the chat if you want. There's not going to be a place for you to answer it otherwise.
So, pop quiz, true or false questions here. HSA balances roll over from year to year. HSAs are portable. HSAs have annual contribution limits. Anyone is eligible for an HSA. What do you think? All right, so let's see how you did. Do your HSA balances roll over from year to year? Yes, that is actually very true. And one of the benefits of the HSA is you do have that annual rollover. It is utilized as a retirement tool. There is no use it or lose it fear along with these. It is your individual account that you get to keep forever. HSAs are portable, again, because it is individually owned by you. If you leave your employer, you can take it with you. You can keep it with your current custodian, consolidate it with another custodian, or move it to an employer's option as well. It is yours for the life of it. Third one, HSAs have an annual contribution limits. Yes, this is true. The limits are set by the IRS every single year, and they're indexed for inflation. So we do typically see them increase slightly. And those limits are set by the IRS again. And then the last one, anyone is eligible for an HSA. This actually is false. Right now, in the current regulations for an HSA, you can only offer one if you have a qualified high deductible health plan. There is some legislation out there that is proposing to allow an HSA to be paired with any medical plan, and we have seen a lot of supporters in DC, so hopefully this gets moved along. But currently, it does only have to be paired for a high deductible health plan. If you're on Medicare, you cannot you can't fund an HSA, and that's another key point of legislation that is being proposed right now to allow people who are on Medicare to fund into an HSA. So we will start to see, hopefully, like Becky mentioned earlier, we do have some supporters of the HSA industry in Washington, so we'll start to see some expansion on the benefits just to improve them.
Great. So why is that important? Well, the crux of what makes HSAs stand out from other employee benefits, whether they're focused on healthcare or finances, is the triple tax advantages. Sorry, you're going to hear me say it 25 times because you absolutely have to remember this. This is what makes HSAs unique. The money you put into them can go in without any taxes being taken out. The money that builds up in them from interest or investment gain accrues without taxes being taken out. And the money you take out to pay for qualified expenses can come out without any kind of penalty. And no other benefit has this triple tax advantage. So the three key ways that to use an HSA are paying for qualified medical expenses, tax-free, building up savings for future medical expenses, tax-free, and investing for future medical expenses, like in retirement, also tax-free. As promised, we're going to take a look at how your clients' employees are utilizing each of these activities today and how they might better utilize them tomorrow. And with that, the first thing we're going to look at is how they work together with other pre-tax benefits that you're familiar with. The question we hear is, how do I stack them? How do I understand how they all work together? And I'm going to let Justine take these. I'm going to ask Justine to take these next few slides just so that she can explain really how we can stack and make all of these things work together.
Thanks, Becky. And while there is a limit to what type of medical plan an HSA can be paired with, again, a qualified high deductible health plan, there are other benefits that can be paired along with that health savings account. First off, a flexible spending account. And typically, a lot of the expenses that are used in an HSA and an FSA are the same, actually, for the most part. 99% of them are the same. So that kind of seem like it's double dipping. And it is, in a sense, if you were using a full purpose flexible spending account with an HSA. It's not allowed because it would be double dipping. However, you can get creative and pair a health savings account with a limited purpose FSA, which can be used for dental and vision expenses only. So why would I want to do that? A good example is myself, for instance. I have 3 kids, 2 of them are in braces. And if you know anything about orthodontia, it is not cheap. And the intention, if you look at the names, the HSA is a health savings account. The intention is for that money to be saved for future or large medical expenses. The expenses that are applied towards your medical deductible. And even though you can use that HSA for your dental and vision expenses, the limited purpose FSA allows you to increase your tax savings by pairing the two together, potentially having over $10,000 in pre-tax out-of-pocket medical expenses, medical, dental, and vision, when you pair the two. So for my individual experience, I have an HSA, which I fund and save for my deductible expenses in case I have those that come up. But I also use a limited purpose FSA for my 2 children's orthodontia, my eyeglasses, contact lenses every year, because your dental and vision expenses are typically going to be the higher dollar out-of-pocket upfront costs. And with the HSA, it's accumulating with each payroll deduction. And if you're rolling one out for the first time or early on, you may not have that balance built up. But having the opportunity to cover that expense for the dental and vision with a limited purpose FSA lets you take advantage of both programs and save additional tax savings on those expenses you're going to have to pay for anyways. The other way you compare an HSA is with a health reimbursement arrangement, an HRA. When they're paired together, we call this a stacked HRA. The HSA is available to cover the IRS minimum deductible, annual deductible of $1,500 for self-only coverage and $3,000 for family coverage. You use your HSA dollars to cover that first amount that is you're responsible for. Then the HRA, which is employer funded, can kick in after that $1,500, $3,000 minimum has been met. And the HRAs, we're going to do an entire series, another CE course on HRAs specifically, so we'll dive deep into this. But this just allows an employer a creative way to be able to offer a lower cost plan to their employees, but still offering a benefit to them by covering a portion of that deductible. So the out-of-pocket cost to the employee is minimal compared to like if it were a $5,000, $10,000 plan. The employee only has to pay that first $1,500, $3,000, however the employer chooses to design it. Again, it's just a way to help them offer more attractive and benefit package. And then lastly, HSAs and COBRA. Not two things you typically think about coinciding or working together, but actually they do. So if someone is on COBRA, if they have elected COBRA and they do have a balance in their HSA, they can use those HSA dollars for their COBRA premiums. So a little bit ago, I said how 99% of the expenses are the same for an FSA and an HSA. This is where it differs. You can't use your FSA dollars for COBRA premiums, but with an HSA, you can. And if you are enrolled in a high deductible health plan while on COBRA, you can continue to contribute to your HSA. It may not be pre-tax, but you can take that above the line deduction on your tax return to save some additional money and help reduce your taxable income.
I love that. Thanks, Justine. So that brings us straight into part 3. How are people actually using their HSAs? There are basically 3 activities involved when using an HSA: spending, saving, and investing. So we're going to take a look at recent statistics just to see what HSA users are doing in each of these areas in the real world. First, another poll question.
Another poll question. Thanks, Becky. So another poll question today: which activity do you think is most prevalent among HSA holders? Are they spending, are they saving, or are they investing? What do you think they're doing? This is your opportunity to answer your poll question. Again, are they spending, saving, or investing those HSA dollars? I'll give you a couple of seconds to.
I love it.
Oh, so far we have about 37% of you have answered. So we'll give it a few more seconds to allow for more answers to come in. We'll go ahead and refresh. Okay, so predominantly saving. There goes my dogs, and spending as well.
Thanks, Justine. I'll save you from here. So we're going to start with spending. Great answers, everybody. Are people using their HSAs for eligible healthcare spending? The answer is yes, they are. So let's look at some statistics and trends. In 2021, more than $30 billion was withdrawn from HSAs, and that's up 2% from the previous year. According to Benefits Pro, 86% of HSA funds are being used to pay medical expenses. Out of an estimated $491 billion spent on out-of-pocket healthcare expenses in 2021, $95 billion were paid for with pre-tax dollars. Now, let me say that again. Out of an estimated $491 billion spent on out-of-pocket healthcare expenses in 2021, only $95 billion were paid for with pre-tax dollars. That's with employee benefit accounts like HSAs and FSAs. So what types of purchases are HSA users spending on? Doctor visits and prescription fills are the top 2, okay? 71%, 62%. So everybody kind of knows about that. Other popular ways to spend HSA dollars are dental visits, vision expenses, hospital bills, and over-the-counter medicine. So, and you'll notice these are all up from from the previous year. So this is how people are spending through their HSA. One relatively recent development that's having an impact on HSA spending is the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act passed in 2020, popularly known as the CARES Act. The CARES Act expanded the advantages of HSAs and FSAs by removing the prescription requirement for several over-the-counter drugs and medicines, and by adding feminine hygiene products to the list of eligible expenses which are eligible for reimbursement. HSA eligible expenses now include cold and allergy products, pain relievers, medicated acne treatments, sunscreen of SPF 15 or higher, tampons, prenatal vitamins, and more. So the tax advantage savings that HSAs provide on qualified purchases is sorely needed. And here's a couple of statistics that show just how much healthcare costs are rising for Americans. In the 10 years from 2006 to 2016, out-of-pocket healthcare spending has risen by 53% in 10 years, okay? And healthcare premiums have gone up twice as much as workers' earnings from 2008 to 2018. So Justine, could you sort of give us tell us a little bit about these statistics? What does this really mean?
As with everything else today, the cost of anything is increasing. Your food, your gasoline, your housing, your household expenses in general. So it's no surprise that the cost of healthcare, out-of-pocket healthcare, is also increasing. And with that increased cost comes increased spend. The two kind of coincide. And it was actually a little mind-boggling to see that although $96 billion are being used for out-of-pocket expenses on a pre-tax basis, that's only a small percentage, less than 20% of the actual cost that is being spent. So there's a huge opportunity for people to take advantage of these pre-tax benefits. Again, as cost of everything is rising, this is a great way, a great vehicle for you to save money for a small little bit to what you have to pay, but that small bit adds up very quickly. So I'm not surprised to see the premiums for healthcare coverage is increasing as opposed to earnings. Very, very on trend with what we're seeing out there in the field too.
So HSAs are designed to help offset this rising medical cost increase. As we discussed, they are attached to high deductible health plans. Now, because consumers pay a larger deductible with them, high deductible health plans also encourage consumers to explore competitively priced options for their health care. And because HSAs let consumers pay with pre-tax dollars, they are effectively saving up to 30% or more on eligible expenses based on individual federal and state tax brackets. But when it comes to tax-advantaged employee benefits related to healthcare spending, many people are more familiar with flexible spending accounts, or FSAs, than HSAs. And just like Justine talked about, so many of the expenses are the same, but here's a chart showing some key differences, including the fact that HSAs are owned by the employee, where FSAs are owned by the employer. Justine, run through these really quickly, just so that we can make sure everybody understands the major differences.
Sure. So one of the things I like to say is if 401k and an FSA had a baby, it would be an HSA. You get the best of both programs. Both of them are going to have the tax-free benefits. However, being eligible for each program is going to vary depending on which one. So with the HSA we mentioned earlier, you do have to be enrolled in that qualified high deductible health plan. Whereas with the flexible spending account, all employees who are eligible for a group health plan can participate in the FSA. They don't have to be enrolled in the group health plan. They just have to be eligible for it. And the ownership of the benefits, the HSA is individually owned. That's where it starts acting like that 401k. It is your money once it goes in there. Whereas the FSA is employer owned. If you leave the company, you don't get to take that with you, which takes it to the portability portion of it as well. You're only tied to that FSA through that employer. Whereas the HSA, it can go with you wherever you go in the future. And then again, like the retirement vehicle, the HSA allows the funds to roll over every year and earn interest, to have investment options, whereas the FSA, the carryover is an option if the employer has elected it. But even with the carryover, just a small portion of it can be rolled over, not the entire account balance. So you still have a little bit of that use it or lose it if you have the carryover option with the FSA. And then the qualified expenses, like we had mentioned earlier, they're essentially the same. But there are a few differences, one of them being long-term care premiums and COBRA premiums being able to be paid for through an HSA as opposed to an FSA.
So chances are that your clients' employees who have HSAs are using them on qualified medical expenses. But here are a few ways that they may be able to make their HSA dollars go even farther. When first getting started, employees may not have a lot of money in their HSAs. However, they can save receipts from qualified expenses they make out of pocket and reimburse themselves from their HSAs later when the accounts are more fully funded. And I feel like we didn't really say this, but of course, the HSA money for the employee is available as it's deposited. So they don't start off with a certain amount like in an FSA. The HSA has to build up throughout the year as those funds are deposited, either from the employer or the employee. So some discount programs, some discount programs offer, like GoodRx, offer better deals on prescription drugs than that are available through their health insurance. And so in certain cases, it may make more sense to pay for prescriptions with HSA funds out of pocket rather than through their health insurance program. That happens regularly to me with I have a Sam's Business membership, and it's always so much less than the insurance. So that makes it an easy decision. I can still just pay that small amount. And people need to realize and remember that many everyday purchases like aspirin or sunscreen, tampons are now eligible to be paid for with HSA funds. So any other ideas, Justine, on how they might be able to spend their HSAs more wisely?
Yeah, of course. So HSAs fall underneath what is called a consumer directed benefit plan. And it really allows the employee or the individual to be a consumer. You shop around for your car insurance. You shop for cars, houses. When you're comparing to buy TVs or stereos, whatever it may be, you do a comparison of those expenses because you want to get the best deal for the quality of product. There's no difference with your healthcare. So having an HSA allows you to take that consumer mindset and apply it to your healthcare. You're able to shop around for an MRI, for a specific service or provider, really letting you do a comparison, choosing a generic prescription drug or asking for a generic prescription drug when you're given a name brand. Again, a way for you to save money that way as well. On those everyday purchases. Really, it just allows you to be more in control of your healthcare spending.
Okay, so when you're recommending an HSA provider to your clients, make sure that they facilitate spending with features such as a smart debit card and a mobile app that makes spending, tracking, claims, and reimbursement process easy and automated. Many providers now offer advanced funding options as well that lets users pay for expenses with HSA dollars, even if they haven't fully funded their accounts yet. So that's really a snapshot of HSA spending. Now let's look at HSA saving. So are people using their HSA for saving? Well, kind of. It is getting better, but there's really still, there's still plenty of room for growth. Let's look at some recent HSA saving tactics. So about 42 billion was put into HSAs in 2021. About 31 billion was taken out. So it seems that people are to some extent saving. The average yearly contribution to an HSA is $1,646. Justine, what is the maximum contribution allowed each year? This year at least?
Yeah, so the average HSA contribution is $1,646. Well, we're seeing double that. Well, the annual limit is actually double that for an individual coverage. If you're single coverage, you have opportunity to fund your HSA up to $3,850. Again, twice that amount. That is the average. And then if you have family coverage, the annual limit is $7,750. And then if you're over the age of 55 with either coverage, you have the opportunity to do a $1,000 per year catch-up contribution to help fund that even more. A lot of great tax savings opportunities that are being left on the table currently.
Big difference, big difference. So why is it important for people to save more money for medical expenses? Well, because the lack of such savings is negatively impacting Americans. 4 out of 10 U.S. adults have delayed or gone without medical care in the last year due to its cost. And 6 out of 10 worry about being able to afford an unexpected medical bill. The S in HSA stands for savings, not spending. That's what flexible spending accounts are for, right? The HSA is savings. These accounts were created to encourage saving. How do they do this? They earn an interest tax-free. There are no minimum distributions. They roll over, they're portable, and they're owned by the employee, not the employer. So it's their own money that they're saving. Talk about the interest that you can get on a health savings account, Justine.
So HSAs can be used as a retirement vehicle, like we had mentioned. And if you're not investing it, it's sitting in an interest-bearing account earning very little interest. However, one of the trends we're starting to see in this industry is offering high-yield savings accounts. It's becoming more readily available from HSA custodians and administrators, which makes the investment option, the opportunity to earn interest and grow the HSA balance more palatable for those who are risk averse. So if they're not quite ready to start investing in money and doing that next step, but they want to earn more interest than the typical standard interest rate, a high yield savings account gives them that opportunity to have more money growing in that HSA. Again, tax-free too. We talked about that earlier.
I love that. I love it. I don't even have to think about it. I don't have to find a bank. I just put it in my HSA.
Yep. Put it in, set it, forget it.
Yes. So this chart actually highlights some of the key advantages HSAs have over traditional bank savings account. Though, of course, someone has to be enrolled in a high deductible health plan, and they must be used for qualified medical expenses. So let's see. With the HSA, yes, tax-free interest, tax-free deposits, high deductible health plan is required, and the withdrawal restriction is for qualified medical expenses up until age 65. After that, they can be removed without penalty. And there are deposit limits. In a regular savings account, obviously, you can use the money for anything. You don't have to have a high deductible health plan, but you don't have tax-free deposits, and there's no tax-free interest. And because interest is earned tax-free and often at higher rates, and there are no minimum distributions, HSAs are very attractive vehicles to build up savings for future healthcare expenses. So it makes sense, if at all possible, to contribute the maximum amount every year to an HSA. In 2023, the IRS set contribution limit is, as Justine said, $3,850 for self-only coverage, $7,750 for family coverage. But as we noted earlier, the average yearly contribution to an HSA is just $1,646. So people are really not saving like they should. So make sure, how do you help? How do you direct your clients? Make sure that the HSA partner that you recommend to your clients offers HSAs with features that facilitate savings, such as high yield interest options, perhaps backed by a group annuity from a highly rated insurance provider, as well as more traditional savings options backed by an FDIC insured institution. And make sure they give end users access to a single portal that allows them to track savings, spending, and investing in real time. So that's a snapshot of HSA saving. And I am seeing some really great questions in the chat, so I want to get to those as quickly as we can. We're going to go straight into HSA investing. So are people using their HSAs for investing? Not really, not nearly enough, certainly. So we're going to take a look at some of the HSA investing trends. The statistic really stands out. Only 7% of HSAs have a portion of their dollars invested. Investing is the most underutilized activity of HSA. Is that what you're seeing out in the field, Justine?
Yes, a lot of people are using their HSAs more for spending than investing, but this is another retirement tool as we continue to get older, especially the younger millennial generation that is in the workforce. We can't really rely on Social Security as a part of our retirement savings for the future. Whereas with the HSAs, it is just another opportunity to enhance your financial wellness for your future. But it's just not being utilized. And a lot of that has to come with education, with your 401k or those on an annual basis, those 401k providers are coming in and talking to employees, telling them how to save and for their future retirement. We're not really seeing that in the HSA space. So it's a really missed opportunity that hopefully we start to see more adoption with more education.
That's a good point. So let's look at the HSA investing statistics and trends. Those that are investing have the most robust HSA accounts. The average total balance for HSA investment accounts is over $19,000, and that's more than 7 times more than accounts without investments. At the end of 2021, there were 34.4 billion in HSA investments, and this represents a 45% increase. Huge increase. So though investments are underutilized, they do represent the fastest growing activity of HSA accounts. There is a pressing need for people to invest today, just like Justine was saying, with an eye to building funds for retirement. According to EBRI, a couple retiring, both of them at 65, will need to have $350,000 set aside for healthcare costs. Let that soak in. And as we've noted, HSAs are unique in offering numerous tax advantages, including no taxes on investment earnings, no taxes on withdrawals for eligible medical expenses. And like we said before, in fact, after age 65, HSA holders can withdraw funds for any purpose without being penalized. So here's an overview of how HSAs compare to 401ks. I know you've been talking a lot about this, Justine. So because HSA contributions offer greater tax savings than 401k contributions, they give account holders the potential to build up their savings faster. For many, therefore, it may even make sense to fully fund their HSAs before devoting funds to their IRAs, particularly if there's a low employer 401k match. Contribution limits for HSAs are significantly lower than for 401ks, however. So HSAs should consider as a complement to, not a replacement for, other retirement planning investing.
Yes, definitely seeing this out in the investment advisor podcast world. If you're familiar with Dave Ramsey, this is one thing that he is always recommending. Fully fund your HSA, get your employer match for your 401k, but fund that HSA first. So it's very on trend.
So how might HSA users invest more wisely? Because of an HSA's unique tax advantages, it makes sense to make, if at all possible, the maximum yearly contribution. It may also be a viable strategy if one is in the right financial position to minimize any spending of HSA dollars and to use the account as purely as possible for retirement savings. Now, many of us are not in that financial position to not touch our HSAs for spending, of course, but another strategy might be to accrue enough cash to cover a high deductible health plan deductible and then invest any remainder. Keep in mind, those high deductible health plans are so much less expensive than the standard health plan. So even just the difference between the monthly price of the high deductible health plan and the regular health plan insurance, it just gives you an opportunity there. Now, many HSA providers offer only rudimentary limited investment programs. When considering an HSA partner to recommend to your clients, make sure they offer more sophisticated features such as a choice of investment models to suit different types of investors, as well as the ability to engage in fractional trading and participate in exchange traded funds. Make sure they have a platform that looks like apps that make trading intuitive and easy. Justine, do you talk a little bit about this fractional trading on your HSA?
Yes, it's surprising, right? Something you probably haven't heard of, but as technology increases, as our needs increase throughout the years, we're starting to see some changes to HSA investing. One of them being the fractional trading, like you mentioned. So similar to if you're investing in the public stock market, you want to put some money into Apple, Amazon, Google, whatever it may be, you can actually do that with your HSA dollars through a couple of administrators out there. This allows you, let's say if you have $200, $300 that you want to invest, instead of having to buy a full share, you can buy a percentage of the shares of the companies that you want to invest your HSA dollars in. This is a rather new trend that we're seeing, and it's exciting. And that's because we're seeing the allowance of exchange traded funds, ETFs, for your HSA investments. So rather than using mutual funds, you use ETFs, which have lower expense ratios, more options for you to choose from. And it really allows you to personalize your investment portfolio with your HSA, similar to your 401k or even your personal portfolio.
So why aren't employees with HSAs using them to the fullest, particularly when it comes to saving for healthcare costs and retirement? Well, for some, it's because they don't currently have the financial resource available to set aside funds for future healthcare. For instance, 56% of Americans can't currently cover a $1,000 emergency expense with savings. That being said, many people simply are not fully aware of the unique built-in tax advantages HSAs offer for investing for future healthcare needs. 35% of employees admit they really don't understand their benefits. So to your point, Justine, education, right?
Yeah, if people do not understand their benefits, they're not going to participate in it, period, whether it's an HSA, their health plan, any of the benefits. So having and relying on an administrator who's willing to provide that education for you, similar to that 401k administrator who's coming out every year to talk to your employees about the benefit of investing, there is a real need for that education in this HSA space. More understanding of the benefits, the more adoption, and then the more participation, and we'll see that gap of unused or untaxed expenses being reduced. So instead of that 20% of your expenses being tax-free, we could get closer to 80 to ideally 100%. If you're paying for those out-of-pocket medical expenses, why aren't we taking advantage of these programs? It's just a lack of education.
Right. And we're getting into our final section here. That's the basic picture of how people are using their HSAs to spend, save, and invest. And how might they use them more efficiently in years ahead? But before we conclude, let's quickly review why people getting the most out of their HSAs matters to employees, employers, and brokers. Starting with a poll question.
Poll question. In your experience, what is most attractive about HSAs? A, the tax advantages, the triple tax savings. B, the ease of use, contributions, debit card access, mobile app, etc. C, the investment management options, or D, account portability. So the next screen will allow you to answer that poll question, and we'll give you a few minutes to do so. Let's see where we are. And again, you want to answer it in the widget.
Okay.
All right, let's see where we are at now. So tax advantages, the most attractive feature about HSAs. I agree. Triple tax savings, can never get enough of it. And then, of course, they are easy to use. And ideally, as with more education becomes available, we want the investment options to be obviously an attractive feature too. A lot of people just don't realize what you can do with an HSA today.
I think I hear sometimes that, sorry, Justine, I think I hear sometimes that employers might be a little bit nervous about offering an HSA because it doesn't mean that the person has to stay, right? Because they get to take their HSA with them. But as you see from the poll, our users don't really think that's the most important thing anyway. So, right? So as we've stressed, HSAs offer tax advantages no other type of account offers. Users don't pay taxes on what they put in, what the accounts earn, or what they take out. As such, they effectively give users a 30% or more discount on qualified current healthcare expenses and a great opportunity to save for their healthcare in the future. Plus, high deductible health plans and HSAs encourage people to be more active in managing their healthcare, hopefully leading to a better health and well-being. As we suggested earlier, quality benefits like HSAs help employers attract talent and decrease turnover, as well as encourage employee well-being, productivity, and satisfaction. Additionally, contributions to HSAs are exempt from FICA taxes. And as HSAs work in conjunction with high deductible health plans, employers realize the savings on premiums and other healthcare costs these plans deliver. And next one. All brokers are well aware. High deductible health plans are solutions more and more employers are implementing. When you help an employer find the best high deductible health plan solution, having a good HSA partner in place can be crucial to the employee's overall satisfaction with the plan. And employee satisfaction, in addition to cost savings, can be a vital factor in selecting and renewing the high deductible health plan that you recommend. Last poll question, here we go, wrapping it up.
So what is the biggest challenge or concern that your clients have with offering HSAs? A, lack of employee education, understanding of the benefit. B, financial exposure of being enrolled in a high deductible health plan. C, service experience from HSA administrator. D, low participation contributions from employees. So we'll give you a couple of seconds to get answered as well. And again, what is the biggest challenge or concern that your clients have with offering an HSA today? And you'll want to answer in the widget. So let's see, we'll do a little refresh. All right, so biggest challenge, predominantly lack of employee education and understanding of the benefit. This coincides with what we just said, right, Becky?
Right on, I love it. Thanks, Justine. So while I read this final slide, Justine, if you'll look through the questions and pull out a couple that you want to answer right away, that would be fantastic. And I'm going to wrap all this up, but before we go, I want to make sure that everyone knows if we don't get to your question, we will answer them each specifically and make sure that everyone has the answers, because I think they're great questions. So it is clear that much work needs to be done to increase awareness of how HSAs may be best used. For instance, fewer than 30% of employers position HSAs as a retirement saving vehicle. Brokers clearly have a key role in helping raise awareness, as do the HSA partners they recommend. So look for one who offers tools and resources such as customizable collateral, presentations, emails, and even webinars that educate employers and employees about the many advantages of HSAs. So with that, we're going to go into our questions. Justine, any that jumped out at you?
Yeah, so Anna Perez asked if a wife has an HSA qualified plan, but her spouse is on Medicare, how much can be contributed to the account annually? So this is kind of first off, great question, Anna. The Medicare eligibility does not impact the account holder. So if you're the wife and you have a HSA qualified plan through your employer and you're contributing to a high deductible health plan and your spouse is covered on that plan with you, you can contribute the maximum amount. And then if you, the account holder, Anna, are over the age of 55, you can do that additional $1,000 catch-up contribution. So your spouse's Medicare eligibility and enrollment doesn't impact you because they are not the account holder. Medicare only impacts the account holder, not the dependents. So I hope that answered. So to the total amount that could be contributed to the account annually would be $8,750 in that scenario. And then there was another question. If you are on a family plan, similar to Anna's question, if you're on a family plan and both members are aged over 55, can both members utilize the catch-up contribution? Maybe. So if they are both on a family plan, the account holder of that HSA can do the $1,000 catch-up contribution. If the spouse has their own HSA that they're funding, they can do a $1,000 catch-up contribution to their individual account. But if they're on the same account and the spouse does not have a separate account, then no. So it's kind of a tricky one too. I love the tricky ones, so keep them coming.
And as we're finishing up this last minute, I know y'all are welcome to stay. I know maybe if Justine has one more question to answer. If you have any questions for us, if there's any specific answers we can give, we are going to provide our information and we'll make sure that we get it to the right person that would be the person in your territory that could help you. But we just wanted to make sure to make ourselves available. Any other questions, Justine? Or should we move on? Should we say goodbye? I'm not sure if you're frozen or if I am, but thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for spending the time. Let us know if there's any way that we can help or any additional questions we can answer. Your credits are on the way, so we'll see you soon. Thanks so much.